Have you ever wondered if living close to your children in your later years is truly the best decision? It's a choice many of us make out of love and a desire for connection, but could it also be holding you back from living the life you truly deserve? In this video, we'll uncover the hidden challenges of living near or with your children in old age. Challenges that often go unnoticed until they begin to affect your happiness, health, and sense of self. Through the inspiring story of Mrs. Alina, we'll explore how her journey to reclaim her independence transformed not only her life, but also her relationship with her family. Stick with us until the end, and you'll learn practical lessons on how to strike the perfect balance between family connection and personal freedom, ensuring that your golden years are filled with joy, growth, and self-discovery. If you haven't subscribed to our channel yet, I encourage you to click the subscribe button and ring the notification bell to stay updated on all our latest content. Your support means a lot to us. If you find value in this video, please give it a thumbs up to help spread our message. I'm also eager to hear your thoughts on today's topic. If you enjoy the content, please comment 1 below. If it doesn't resonate with you, leave a 0 instead. Your feedback is crucial, as it helps me create better videos that align with your interests. Now let's get started. Alina's daily life. At first, life in her daughter's home truly felt like a dream. Alina embraced her new role with enthusiasm, waking up each morning to the joyful chatter of her grandchildren. The house was always filled with laughter, love, and activity, a far cry from the quiet solitude she had known after her husband's passing. Every day brought new opportunities to bond with the children. In the mornings, she prepared breakfast, often indulging their requests for playful creations like animal-shaped pancakes. Little Matteo would run into the kitchen, his eyes gleaming with excitement. "Grandma, can you make a Mickey Mouse pancake for me today?" he'd ask. Alina would smile warmly, flipping pancakes as she hummed a tune from her teaching days. Afternoons were equally fulfilling. As someone who had been a teacher for years, Alina relished the chance to help her grandchildren with their homework. "Grandma, I don't understand this math problem," Matteo would complain, holding up his workbook. Sitting down beside him, Alina would patiently explain the solution, her heart swelling with pride when he finally grasped it. Research from Stanford University has shown that multi-generational living arrangements could boost happiness and give seniors a renewed sense of purpose. Alina felt like living proof of this. Her days were filled with laughter, hugs, and a comforting sense of belonging. It seemed like the perfect arrangement, a win-win for everyone involved. But as time passed, cracks began to appear in this seemingly idyllic life. What had initially felt like joyful contributions to the household slowly morphed into an unending list of obligations. Alina found herself managing meals, tidying the house, and running after her grandchildren for most of the day. One afternoon, as she prepared dinner, she overheard Sophia speaking on the phone. "I don't know what we'd do without Mom," Sophia said. The words were meant as a compliment, but they made Alina pause. A wave of unease washed over her, something she couldn't quite name at the time. Epicurus once said, "It's not that we have little time, but that we waste much of it." This sentiment lingered in Alina's thoughts as the days went on. Her schedule had become so packed with household tasks that she barely had time to sit down and read a book or enjoy the quiet moments she once cherished. Memories of her old apartment began to creep into her mind. She remembered sipping tea by the window, spending long afternoons immersed in novels, or taking spontaneous walks in the park. But now, those moments of freedom felt like distant memories. Alina scolded herself for feeling ungrateful. "How can I complain when I have everything I ever wanted?" she thought. But despite her guilt, a quiet longing for something more began to grow. One Sunday morning, as she stood at the stove making pancakes, she realized she couldn't remember the last time she had taken a morning for herself. Her days, once filled with social outings and time to reflect, had become a blur of responsibilities. Psychologist Erik Erikson highlighted the importance of maintaining autonomy in old age, but Alina was beginning to feel like hers was slipping away. She spent her evenings sitting on the porch, looking up at the stars and asking herself difficult questions. Is this really how I want to spend the rest of my life? The poet Robert Frost wrote, Two roads diverged in a wood, and I took the one less traveled by. Alina wondered if she had chosen the right path. Her desire to be the perfect grandmother had come at a cost. Her sense of independence was quietly fading, leaving her to question if she had lost her way. The emergence of grandmother syndrome. As the weeks turned into months, Alina began to feel the weight of her responsibilities growing heavier. What had started as occasional help with her grandchildren had now become a full-time role as a caregiver. Her days were filled with cooking, cleaning, and chasing after energetic children, leaving little room for herself. Despite her exhaustion, Alina rarely complained. She told herself it was her duty as a grandmother to help her family. She loved Matteo and Sofia deeply and cherished the moments they spent together. But, deep down, she felt a sense of loss that she couldn't quite articulate. This phenomenon, referred to by Dr. Antonio Guaro as grandmother syndrome, describes the physical and emotional burden that many grandmothers experience when they take on unpaid caregiving roles. It's a silent struggle, one that often goes unnoticed until the toll becomes undeniable. Elena began to experience the telltale signs. She felt fatigued, not just physically but emotionally. Her once vibrant spirit seemed dulled by the endless cycle of obligations. While she loved her family, she started to wonder if her life had become too one-dimensional. She thought back to her younger self, Elena, who dreamed of traveling, learning new skills, and spending quiet evenings reading novels. Those dreams felt impossibly far away now. Her life had become consumed by the needs of others, and she rarely had a moment to think about her own desires. One evening, after a particularly busy day, Elena sat down on her bed, staring blankly out the window. Tears streamed down her face as she whispered, "How did I get here? Is this all there is for me now?" Her reflection in the glass seemed to echo the silent questions she didn't dare ask aloud. Psychologist Carol Gilligan's concept of the ethic of care explains how women, especially mothers and grandmothers, often prioritize others' needs over their own. Alina was living this reality, sacrificing her autonomy and happiness to ensure her family's comfort. Studies have shown that this kind of emotional and physical strain can have serious consequences, including increased risks of depression and anxiety. Yet Alina continued to tell herself that it was normal, that this was simply what being a good grandmother entailed. One day, while preparing dinner, Sofia entered the kitchen with a frown. "Mom, the kids don't like onions. Why do you keep adding them?" she said with an edge in her voice. Though it was a small comment, it struck Elena like a bucket of cold water. It wasn't the first time her efforts had been criticized, but this moment crystallized a growing feeling of being undervalued. This cycle of unspoken expectations and diminishing autonomy made Elena question her role. She began to wonder if the sacrifice of her independence was truly helping her family, or if it was quietly eroding her own sense of self. Just when Alina felt her most isolated, an unexpected visit from her old friend Carmela offered a glimmer of hope. In the next part, we'll discover how Carmela's wisdom and shared experiences helped Alina find the courage to reimagine her life. Advice from a friend. A visit with Carmela. One quiet afternoon, as Alina sat in her room reflecting on her growing frustrations, the doorbell rang. It was Carmela, her lifelong friend, standing at the door with a warm smile and a bag of freshly baked cookies. Alina hadn't seen her in months, and the sight of her familiar face brought an unexpected wave of relief. As they settled into the kitchen with cups of coffee, Carmela immediately noticed the exhaustion in Alina's face. "You don't look like yourself," Carmela said gently. Elena hesitated but finally opened up about everything she had been feeling. She spoke about the overwhelming sense of duty, the lack of recognition, and the loss of her identity. "I feel like I've disappeared," Alina admitted, tears welling in her eyes. "I'm no longer Elena. I'm just Grandma." Carmela nodded knowingly and reached across the table to hold her friend's hand. "I understand more than you think," she said. "Do you remember when I moved in with my kids? It was supposed to be a dream, but it quickly became the hardest period of my life. I lost myself completely. But one day, I decided that enough was enough." Elena looked at her friend with a mixture of curiosity and disbelief. "What did you do?" she asked softly. Carmela smiled. "I moved out," she said simply. I got my own little apartment, started taking painting classes, and reclaimed my independence. It wasn't easy, but it was the best decision I ever made. Carmela explained how her children initially resisted the idea, worried about her living alone. But I told them it wasn't about leaving them, it was about finding myself again. Over time, they came to understand and even appreciate it. They saw how much happier and more vibrant I became, Carmela said with a sparkle in her eye. Inspired by her friend's story, Alina felt a flicker of hope. But doubts quickly crept in. What if they think I'm being selfish? She asked hesitantly. Carmela squeezed her hand reassuringly. Alina, true love isn't about possession or obligation. Your family will love you even more when they see how happy you are. Take small steps. Do something just for yourself, even if it feels strange at first. That conversation stayed with Alina long after Carmela left. It was as if a light had been turned on, illuminating a path she hadn't dared to consider before. She didn't know exactly how to begin, but for the first time in a long while, she felt a glimmer of hope. Encouraged by Carmela's words, Elena decided to take the first steps toward reclaiming her independence. In the next part, we'll follow her journey of rediscovery as she begins to find joy and purpose in life once again. If you are still watching this video and find these lessons useful, please comment number 1 below to let me know that you are still watching this video with me. Elena rediscovers herself. That evening, Elena sat by her window, reflecting on Carmela's words. The idea of reclaiming her independence felt both thrilling and daunting. For years, her life had revolved around others, and the thought of doing something solely for herself felt unfamiliar. But deep inside, she knew that if she didn't take action, the quiet longing in her heart would only grow stronger. The next morning, she decided to start small. After breakfast, instead of staying home to clean or prepare for the day, Elena told Sophia, "I'll be back in an hour. Just going for a walk." The words felt strange on her tongue, but as she stepped outside, a sense of liberation washed over her. She walked to the nearby park, the crisp morning air brushing against her cheeks. It had been years since she'd taken time for herself like this. She paused by a bench and watched the sunlight filter through the trees, feeling a rare moment of peace. That simple walk became a ritual, something Elena looked forward to every day, a quiet hour just for her. Soon, she found herself yearning for more. The next step was signing up for a painting workshop at the local community center, something she had always dreamed of but never pursued. As she walked into the first session, her heart raced with nerves. What if I've forgotten how to paint? She thought. But the moment she picked up a brush and felt the paint glide across the canvas, her worries melted away. The workshop turned into a sanctuary for Elena. She met people her age, each with their own stories, and found a friend in Consuela, a widow with a sharp wit and a love for bold colors. Together they laughed, shared memories, and discovered the joy of creating something beautiful. Elena's days began to change. The routine of endless chores and caregiving gave way to a rhythm that included time for herself. She woke up excited to attend her painting class or take her daily walks. She even started experimenting with new recipes in the evenings, relishing the process rather than rushing to meet a deadline. However, guilt still lingered. On days when Sophia seemed overwhelmed or the grandchildren called for her, Elena felt a pang of doubt. Am I being selfish? She wondered. But Carmela's advice echoed in her mind. You can't pour from an empty cup. Elena reminded herself that taking care of her own well-being didn't mean neglecting her family. It meant she could show up for them with renewed energy and love. The changes in Elena didn't go unnoticed. Sophia began to see her mother smiling more, her step lighter, and her conversations filled with excitement. "Mom, you seem so alive," Sophia remarked one evening. Elena smiled, realizing how true those words felt. Neuroscientists like Dr. Oliver Sacks have observed how engaging in new activities can reshape the brain, creating pathways that improve mental health and even physical well-being. Elena was living proof of this transformation. Her energy levels increased, her chronic aches eased, and even her memory improved. Elena's grandchildren noticed the difference too. Instead of the tired and hurried grandmother they were used to, they now saw someone vibrant and full of stories. "Grandma, can you teach me how to paint?" Matteo asked one afternoon, his curiosity sparking a moment of shared creativity. Elena realized that rediscovering herself didn't mean distancing herself from her family. It meant bringing a fuller, happier version of herself into their lives. As Elena embraced her independence, the ripple effects began to transform her relationships with her family. In the next part, we'll explore how her journey not only strengthened her bonds, but also inspired those around her to reimagine their own lives. The impact on the family. Elena's decision to reclaim her independence sent ripples through her family. At first, Sophia struggled to accept the changes. "Mom, are you sure you're not overdoing this?" "You don't have to prove anything," she said one evening, her tone a mix of concern and confusion. Elena reassured her daughter with a gentle smile. "I'm not proving anything to anyone, Sophia. I'm just finding myself again. And this isn't about leaving you, it's about being the best version of myself for all of us." Over time, Sophia began to see the positive effects of her mother's transformation. Instead of a constantly tired and overworked caregiver, Elena became a source of joy and inspiration. Her energy was contagious, and her renewed enthusiasm for life began to spark changes within the family. The time Elena spent with her grandchildren took on a new meaning. Visits were no longer filled with rushed chores or constant supervision. Instead, they became opportunities for genuine connection. One afternoon, Matteo and Sofia joined Elena on her balcony as she painted. "Grandma, what are you making?" Matteo asked, his eyes wide with curiosity. Elena laughed. "It's a garden, just like the one we'll plant together someday," she replied. These moments of creativity and collaboration deepened their bond in ways that felt more meaningful than before. The children admired their grandmother, not just as someone who cared for them, but as someone who inspired them with her passions. Sophia, too, found herself reevaluating her own life. Seeing her mother embrace her independence made her question the balance between her work, family, and personal dreams. "You've taught me something important, Mom," Sophia admitted one evening. "It's okay to take time for yourself. You've shown me how much it can change everything." Psychologists have noted that when older adults maintain their independence, it often improves family dynamics by fostering mutual respect and understanding. Elena's journey became a living testament to this idea. Her family began to see her not as a constant caregiver, but as a woman with her own dreams, passions, and identity. The grandchildren, in particular, learned invaluable lessons from their grandmother. Watching her pursue her hobbies and take pride in her achievements taught them the importance of following one's passions and never letting age define what's possible. Even Sophia's husband, who had initially been skeptical of Elena's new routine, began to notice the changes in their household. "Your mom's happiness is infectious," he told Sophia. "It's like she's brought a new energy to all of us." The transformation in Elena's family wasn't just about their relationships with her, it also inspired them to reconsider their own choices. The family began spending more quality time together, cherishing the moments that mattered most. Elena's journey of self-discovery didn't just transform her own life, it reshaped her family in ways she never imagined. In the final part, we'll reflect on the lessons her story offers and how embracing independence can lead to stronger relationships and a fulfilling life. Conclusion and lessons learned. Elena's decision to reclaim her independence was more than just a personal journey. It became a transformative lesson for her entire family. She realized that loving her family didn't mean sacrificing her own happiness or sense of self. Instead, by prioritizing her own well-being, she was able to deepen her connections with her loved ones in ways she never imagined. Her story teaches us that independence in old age is not about distancing oneself from family, but about creating a balance between love for others and love for oneself. Elena's rediscovery of her passions, whether it was painting, gardening, or simply taking quiet walks, didn't just rejuvenate her spirit, it also inspired her family. Sophia, Matteo, and even her skeptical son-in-law began to see the value of pursuing one's own dreams at any age. Elena often reflected on the wisdom of the poet Khalil Gibran, who wrote, "Your children are not your children. They are the sons and daughters of life's longing for itself." Just as parents guide their children to independence, children must learn to let their parents embrace their own individuality. By stepping back and giving herself the freedom to grow, Alina unknowingly taught her grandchildren an invaluable lesson. Life doesn't stop at any particular age, and it's never too late to discover new joys or rekindle forgotten passions. Matteo proudly displayed one of his grandmother's paintings in his room, telling his friends, "My grandma made this. She's amazing." For Sophia, the transformation was equally profound. Seeing her mother thrive reminded her of the importance of balance in her own life. "Mom, you've shown me that taking time for myself isn't selfish, it's necessary," Sophia admitted during one of their evening conversations. Elena's story is a powerful reminder that independence and family love can coexist beautifully. Her boldness in choosing to live for herself didn't weaken her bonds with her family, it strengthened them. Her journey was proof of what philosopher Seneca once said: "Life is long, if you know how to use it." Elena's newfound independence also shattered stereotypes about aging. She proved that the golden years could be a time of growth, creativity, and vibrant relationships. By investing in her happiness, she became not only a source of wisdom but also a role model for her family and friends. For those inspired by Elena's story, the lesson is clear. It's never too late to rewrite your narrative. Whether it's pursuing a long-forgotten hobby, traveling to new places, or simply carving out time for yourself, every step toward independence is a step toward a fuller, richer life. Elena often shared her favorite quote from Rumi with her family. "Yesterday I was clever, so I wanted to change the world. Today I am wise, so I am changing myself." In changing herself, Elena didn't just transform her life, she transformed the lives of those she loved. If you found this video helpful, don't forget to give it a thumbs up and share it with someone who might benefit from this topic. Have any thoughts or personal experiences to share? Drop them in the comments below, I'd love to hear from you. And if you haven't already, click the subscribe button and ring the notification bell to join our community for more empowering content. Thank you for watching, and until next time, embrace the journey with confidence.